Welcome. In this video, we're going to discuss the role of the subject matter expert in the product development process. So the role of the subject matter expert, or the SME, is absolutely vital in developing quality teaching and learning resources and assessments. The role requires that the SME be familiar with training package requirements, have expertise in the content area, and they may even have some understanding of best practice for online material. Quite often the SME will be currently engaged as a TAFE teacher and may even be involved in delivering that unit of competence. The key responsibilities of the SME involve reviewing any existing resources, then providing the content writer with a unit plan, which then guides the development of the learner guide and assessments. The SME will provide the content writer with feedback. This could be progressive and certainly at some key milestones. And they'll also be involved in validating the final product. Now we can look at those responsibilities in a little bit more detail. In your induction pack, which you will find up in the OneDrive space, you will find a document that outlines your role and the responsibilities of your role. So I'm just going to open up that document. Bear with me. So it sort of recaps what I've essentially said. And what we might do is have a look at sort of the typical tasks and time allocated for the SME. So for an individual unit of competence, we generally engage a SME for 10 hours. Now with those 10 hours, the tasks involve the following. You'll have a briefing or an induction, which could be these videos or an email or a phone call or a meeting with your project manager. You might take some time to review existing resources because it's ideal that we might take those resources and use them in product development rather than reinventing the wheel. A majority of your time will be allocated towards completing the unit plan. Now, as I said, this is a key document that guides the content writer. We'll discuss the unit plan in greater detail in a separate video. You also have some time allocated to discuss the unit plan with your content writer if they have any questions. And then there are a couple of key points where you need to review the material that your content writer is submitting to ensure that it is actually following the unit plan or to provide them any further advice as the materials have been developed. So your content writer is asked to submit a first draft, which is essentially the first topic and draft versions of the mapping and assessments. And you will need to provide feedback to the content writer. In most cases, you might download their Word documents and track changes. Or if it's only minor feedback, you might be able to do that through email or verbally. But in each case, you need to notify the writer, your project manager, and the product architects via email that you have reviewed the material and identify any issues, of course. One of the key points for you to provide feedback is on the final draft, because this is preparing the material. This is the material being prepared for validation. So you'd like to give your writer as much feedback as possible, so when it actually does go to validation, that there are hardly any changes or additions that need to be made. And of course, you will participate in that validation panel, and you'll be contacted on where and when and how that process occurs. Once again, you might be asked to provide feedback to the content writer if there are any rectifications that need to be completed or that are identified in the validation. So take the time to review that content writer document. And as I said, in the next video, we'll move on to one of the key tasks for the subject matter expert, which is the development of the unit plan. Thank you.